They called him Crazy Horse. But for those who truly knew football, he was something more. Emlyn Hughes was the man who led Liverpool through its most important transformation, from hopeful contender to European conqueror. He lifted trophies with fire in his chest and tears in his eyes. He didn't ask for praise, he just played, like every match was a final and every badge was personal. In 1977, when he held the European Cup above his head, he didn't just make history, he became it. 665 games, 12 seasons, a captain, a fighter, a believer. He played with urgency, led with emotion, and left a legacy that still lives in the bones of Anfield. Subscribe if you believe football should never forget the captains who gave everything and asked for nothing in return. Emlyn Hughes was born in Barrow-in-Furness in 1947, a working-class town built on grit, steel, and no shortcuts. His father played rugby league for Great Britain. Toughness wasn't a choice in the Hughes family, it was inherited. But Emlyn chose football, and he played it like a storm. From an early age, he was restless on the pitch, too wild for systems, too energetic for calm. He charged through games like something inside him couldn't wait. He didn't stop, he didn't slow. And even when the game seemed settled, he'd unsettle it. He wasn't the most technical, but he saw things others didn't. Where they waited, he moved. Where they paused, he pressed. Coaches tried to contain it. But the truth was, he didn't need containment. He needed the right club, the right manager, the right moment. And when it came, he didn't miss it. In 1964, Emlyn Hughes signed with Blackpool. He was just 17, all legs, lungs, and fire. He didn't play to impress, he played to affect. And in every match, something happened. He ran further, tackled harder, spoke louder. Managers didn't need a scout report, they just needed one look. It didn't take long for Bill Shankly to notice. He watched Hughes chase down a hopeless ball, recover it, and charge again like it was minute one. Then came the quote, "He's got a bloody big heart, that'll do for me." In February 1967, Liverpool paid £65,000 to bring him to Anfield, and in that moment, everything changed. Hughes wasn't polished, he wasn't perfect, but he was unstoppable. He made his Liverpool debut just 2 days after signing, and by the end of that season, fans had a new favorite: fast, relentless, unpredictable. They called him Crazy Horse. Because once he started running, you couldn't guess where he'd stop, only that he would get there first. In 1973, Emlyn Hughes became captain of Liverpool. It wasn't a surprise, it was a confirmation. He wasn't the kind of leader who gave speeches, he gave examples, by how he trained, by how he played, by how he refused to accept second best. He led with energy, with emotion, and with a responsibility that weighed more than the armband. There were captains who managed games. Emlyn managed standards. He demanded everything, from teammates, from the club, from himself. And he gave more than he ever asked for. Not everyone understood him. Some thought he was too intense, too fierce. But on the pitch, that fierceness made sense. He brought edge, he brought urgency. He made Liverpool harder to beat, not just in skill, but in spirit. And behind the chaos of Crazy Horse was someone who understood exactly what it meant to carry a team, not just through matches, but through eras. Under Emlyn Hughes, Liverpool became a machine. But it wasn't cold, it was fiery, relentless, alive. Between 1973 and 1979, they won 4 First Division titles. They lifted 2 UEFA Cups, 1 FA Cup, 3 Charity Shields, and for the first time in the club's history, the European Cup. Rome, 1977. Liverpool versus Borussia Mönchengladbach. It wasn't just a final, it was a threshold, and Hughes led them through it. He didn't score, didn't assist, but he was in every tackle, every shout, every signal. And when the whistle blew, it was Hughes who held the cup high, tears in his eyes, heart on his sleeve. It was the moment Liverpool became European champions, and he was the one who made them believe it was possible. A year later, they did it again. Back-to-back European Cups. The dynasty was real, and at its center stood a captain who ran like a forward, tackled like a defender, and lived like a Red. He wasn't just part of the team, he was the tone it played in. While Hughes was building Liverpool into a powerhouse, he was doing the same for England. He earned 62 caps for his country, captained the national team, and played in the 1970 World Cup squad, one of the most competitive eras in English football. He wasn't a guaranteed starter, he had to fight for his place, but he brought the same energy, the same commitment, whether it was Wembley or a friendly far from home. He never treated the shirt like a souvenir, he treated it like a duty. And when his time at Liverpool came to a close in 1979, he didn't slow down. He signed for Wolverhampton Wanderers, a new club but the same Hughes. At Wolves, he became captain again. And in 1980, he lifted the League Cup at Wembley, leading his side to a 1-0 win over Brian Clough's Nottingham Forest. Most players settle with one chapter. Hughes wrote another. Because wherever he went, he didn't just show up. He raised the standard. After Wolves, most expected Hughes to retire. He'd won everything. But that was never how he thought. He joined Rotherham United in 1981, not just as a player, but as a coach. He wasn't chasing titles anymore. He was giving back, he played, he taught. He showed younger players what it meant to do the job properly. Then came Hull City, then Mansfield Town, then a short spell at Swansea. He didn't play for prestige, he played because football still mattered. Lower leagues, smaller crowds, but the same Hughes. He trained like it was Anfield, tackled like it was Wembley, led like every point could define a season. There was no press, no farewell tour, just a man doing what he loved, until his boots finally came off. And when they did, he walked away quietly, but never without pride. When Emlyn Hughes left the pitch, he didn't leave the game. He just changed the setting. He became a household name through television, most famously on A Question of Sport. The same intensity that once drove Liverpool forward now came through in laughter, banter, and stories that lit up living rooms. He wasn't trying to be someone else. He was still Emlyn, still competitive, still loud, still full of life. He didn't speak like a pundit. He spoke like a teammate. Because deep down, that's who he always was. For a generation that never saw him lift a trophy, this was how they knew him. Not from tapes or tributes, but from that unmistakable voice, that huge grin, and the feeling that football was never far behind. He connected with people, because he never stopped being real. In 2003, Emlyn Hughes was diagnosed with a brain tumor. The news hit hard, not just because of who he was, but because of how much he had given. He passed away on November 9th, 2004. He was just 57, and when the news broke, football stood still. At Anfield, scarves were laid, silence held, and banners rose for a man who had given everything and never asked for anything back. Former teammates called him the soul of their team. Opponents called him relentless. Fans called him ours. There's no statue of Emlyn Hughes, no chant that echoes his name each week. But his legacy doesn't need volume. It lives in the shirts he soaked with sweat, the matches he turned with sheer force of will, and the standards he set that still define what a captain should be. He was more than crazy horse. He was a lionheart, the kind of player a club never forgets, even if history sometimes tries to. Leave a comment if you remember Emlyn Hughes. Subscribe if you believe stories like his deserve to be told. Because some men lift trophies, but Emlyn Hughes lifted belief.